Daniel Carter was a 45-year-old loving father, husband, and the pillar of his family. Every morning, he followed the same routine, brewing coffee, reading the newspaper, and sharing breakfast with his wife, Emily, and their teenage daughter, Grace. Life wasn't perfect, but it was stable and filled with love. One Sunday morning, as the golden sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, Daniel laughed as he recounted a joke from the paper. Grace rolled her eyes playfully, while Emily chuckled. It was a moment of simple joy, one of those memories you don't realize you'll treasure until later. "I'll take the dog for a walk," Daniel said after breakfast, grabbing his sneakers. "Be back in 20. Emily waved him off with a smile. "Don't forget to take your phone this time." He winked and said, "What could possibly go wrong in 20 minutes? Daniel didn't come back in 20 minutes. Emily grew worried after half an hour. She called his phone, but there was no answer. Grace offered to go look for him. She found him near the park bench where he always stopped to rest. Daniel was slumped over, his face pale and his body still. "Dad!" Grace screamed, shaking him. Passers-by rushed over, one of them dialing for an ambulance. Grace knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded, "Please, wake up. Please." Emily arrived at the hospital with Grace, her hands trembling as they clutched her daughter's. The sterile smell of the hospital and the sound of beeping monitors filled her with dread. A doctor approached them, his expression grim. "Mrs. Carter, your husband suffered a severe heart attack," he said gently. "We're doing everything we can." Emily felt her knees buckle. Grace held her tightly, both of them overwhelmed by a storm of fear and helplessness. Hours felt like days as they waited for news. Emily replayed the morning in her mind, wondering if she had missed any signs, any clue that something was wrong. Daniel had always been so full of life. How could this have happened? The doctor returned, his face heavy with sorrow. "I'm so sorry," he said softly. "We tried our best, but his heart was too weak. He didn't make it." Emily let out a cry that seemed to echo through the hall. Grace collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. The world they knew, the life they had built together, was shattered in an instant. When they were allowed to see him, Daniel looked peaceful, as though he were simply sleeping. Emily held his hand, tears streaming down her face. "You promised you'd always be here," she whispered. "What do I do now?" The days that followed were a blur of grief. The house felt unbearably empty without Daniel's laughter and warmth. Every corner reminded Emily and Grace of him, the chair he always sat in, the books he never finished, the mug he used every morning. Grace struggled at school, and Emily found it hard to focus at work. Friends and family offered support, but the void left by Daniel was immeasurable. One evening, Emily found a note tucked in Daniel's desk drawer. It was addressed to her and Grace, written months before. "Dear Emily and Grace, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I hope it's many, many years from now, but life is unpredictable. First, I need you to know how much I love you both. You are my world, my reason for everything. Emily, you're the strongest person I know. You've always been the heart of our family. I know you'll take care of Grace and yourself. Remember to laugh, even when it feels impossible. Grace, my sweet girl, never doubt how proud I am of you. You're going to do amazing things in this world, and I'll be cheering you on every step of the way. Life will go on, even if it feels impossible right now. Carry me in your hearts, and I'll always be with you. Love, Daniel. Emily clutched the letter to her chest, sobbing but also finding a strange sense of comfort. Daniel had always been thoughtful, even in his absence. Over time, Emily and Grace began to rebuild their lives. They celebrated Daniel's memory, sharing stories about him and visiting his favorite spots. Grace started volunteering at a Heart Health Awareness Foundation, determined to help others avoid the pain she had endured. Emily took up gardening, something Daniel had always wanted to do but never had the time for. She found solace in planting flowers and watching them bloom, a symbol of life continuing despite loss. Though the pain never completely went away, Emily and Grace learned to carry it with love, remembering Daniel not with sadness but with gratitude for the time they had shared. Life is fragile and unpredictable. Cherish the moments you have with loved ones, express your love often, and remember that even in the face of immense loss, love has the power to guide and heal.